I would be remiss if I did not tell you that this is not a build guide, but I also must tell you that this was not even supposed to be a Path of Exile video in the first place. If you watched the video about combo, where I talk combo, I did a little gag where I put in like the intro to Street Fighter 6, because I was like, oh, fighting game combos. And then, if you watched the 2 a.m. rambling video, which was actually recorded at like midnight, but I just scheduled it for 2 a.m. so that I could go to sleep and not have to look at it when I uploaded it, then you would know that I said that the video for the 28th will not be Path of Exile. In fact, it will be from another game that that was mentioned in these Path of Exile videos, but was not Path of Exile. Obviously, that was Street Fighter 6. Today, Ingrid released. And you might notice that this stuff on the screen right here isn't Ingrid, it's not even Street Fighter. The original plan was to do like some of the combo trials, like the intermediate and advanced combo trials, maybe my placement matches, and then talk about Ingrid a little bit and put that in a video. And then I forgot to press record on the combo trials. I still streamed the placement matches, so if you really like Street Fighter, until Twitch deletes the VOD, I don't know how long they hold VODs, you can go watch that. But that means that today's video is going to be the Calguran Gem Showcase. They showed off some stuff. I know that they showed off Detonate Living because people mentioned that in the comments of some of my other videos, and I looked at that, so I will talk about that. I just skimmed through to find the Detonate Living. I don't know any of the other stuff that they revealed. So let's take a look at it.
Hi, I'm
That's
Jonathan
fucking loud. Sorry, forgot about that.
Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. The Ruins of Alderley contains remnant encounters that can grant you a huge variety of rewards. Among these are Calguran skills, fusions
Skyfall?
of Calguran.
What is this? I hate to look up a joke halfway through a video. Okay, yep. What is this? 007 First Light? Like that game just released. I'm not going to play it. Hitman's pretty fun, though.
Rune shapes and
One of these days I'll
magic
stay on
that
topic.
are powered by your runic ward instead of mana.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Repulsion. Target an area. Curse enemies within with a Verisium rune. Inflicting them with fragility. Hitting the enemies causes the curse to trigger an explosion, deals damage in an area, applies significant knockback to other enemies with more stun buildup based on the fragility of the target hit. I might throw that into like a cast on melee stun with my staggering palm like stunning build. Might throw that in there. Also, Bitter Dead. Spend ward to target an area, transforming corpses into bitter cores that seek out enemies and chill enemies near them. They explode at the end of the duration, with creating runes which deal additional cold damage. Could be really good for clear. I'd imagine you'd have to do like some sort of sacrifice tech with permanent minions or bosses, if you want to use this as your boss skill. Also, they have ward costs.
They also don't have attribute requirements, meaning they can be used with any class. You'll need to plan your ward costs around them, but with the right armor, and maybe a rune or two.
Okay, you can get increased runic ward regenerate on an armor piece in a rune, or a wand rune limited to 1 that makes it so that all damage taken bypasses runic ward, and runic ward regen is doubled. So basically your runic ward doesn't count as a health pool, but it regens twice as fast. That's nice.
You can augment your character with runic might, or even make a build dedicated to these new skills. Raise chilling volatile orbs with Bitter Dead.
Yeah, this is just what they were showing off. Okay.
To seek out your enemies and explode them.
For what it's worth, I read those ones because I didn't know if they were going to show them off. Turns out they're at least showing off Bitter Dead.
Also dealing damage and leaving behind a rune that deals cold damage over time. Exploding the corpses
Does seem very cool. Seems like it would be much like, again, you'd need sacrifice to do stuff against bosses, but
of enemies after they're dead might feel a little ancient. Instead, detonate your foes while they're still alive, causing enemies hit with detonate.
Okay, so I did already mention how I saw Detonate Living and responded to some comments about it, but just in case you didn't see those responses or didn't even see the original comments, Detonate Living, there's some stuff you could potentially do with this on a Cull Threshold build. You could go all in on spells, and then you might want to choose a different ascendancy, but that would be tough against bosses, because the monk, martial artist specifically, with Detonate Living, still has some ability to cull during boss fights, even if the boss doesn't have any adds with the bells. So depending on what the damage of the explosion is. Also, I mean, this does some damage to enemies, but I feel like you'd be better off using a secondary skill for bosses, which you might anyway. But generally, what you could do for cull build, like the monk cull build, is just throw this into a cast on something or other build, like setup. Cast on crit if you've got big crits, cast on elemental ailment if you're doing a bunch of elemental ailments, stuff like that. I don't believe there's a cast on cull, but you could throw this in there just to get a bunch of extra clear. But generally, this could just be like a decent clear skill. And then you have to find something else for bosses, and you focus on this entirely with like a blood mage or something. That's what that ascendancy is called, right? Blood mage.
Innate living that are under the Cull threshold to immediately explode.
Seems to deal a decent amount of damage. 1 second.
Living that are under the Cull threshold to immediately explode.
Okay, nope. I thought, for what it's worth, I thought that it might, the explosion might also have cull, so it might be able to chain reaction explosions, but it didn't look like it.
Seductive Runes spends ward to create a number of runes in front of you. After arming, these hazardous runes will explode when stepped on by an enemy, dealing lightning attack damage and causing electrocution buildup. This skill excels in getting you out of your current predicament, incapacitating pursuers or getting you out of a tight corner. Runeforged Blade spends ward to make supported skills fire projectiles.
That last one might be interesting with Hollow Form. But Runeforged Blade supports attacks used yourself, causing them to consume fully broken armor on enemies to fire a nova of runic projectiles. That could be kind of interesting on the Staggering Palm thing, because if you're using the, forget what the support's called, but when you stun an enemy, fully break their armor. So you stun them, fully break their armor, you can then consume it. I think it would make it worse for bosses significantly, but if you're already using a secondary skill for bosses anyway, then this could be quite nice for just adding a bunch of extra clear.
After fully armor breaking an enemy, investing into projectile modifiers like Pierce or Chain will boost it even further. Eternal March taps into your reserves of runic ward to instantly restore your dead minions to life. Use it as a panic button when a boss crushes.
I mean, just the fact that this thing can already spend up to 853 runic ward means you can probably get quite a bit. Obviously doesn't have to spend that much, but this could be a nice thing to throw in there if you go like all in on ward for the like a bitter cold, or what it was called, bitter cold with sacrifice. You just can constantly revive your minions this way instead of reviving them by just waiting. You need a bunch of ward for it, but
or even provide more fuel for minion explosions. Just be careful, as spending this much ward will leave you vulnerable. If you want to cosplay a turtle without holding a pesky shield, Runic Reprieve has you covered, literally. This channeled spell behaves quite similarly to raising your shield, blocking all hits you take. It even protects your back. However, every time you're hit, your ward depletes, and you can't recover it while channeling. Additionally, every hit causes heavy stun buildup on you, just like raising your shield.
I feel like it shouldn't need that. Heavy stun, I mean, I get it, because, you know, it's like a shield, but heavy stun and you lose your ward?
Sometimes what's buried in the past can still hurt you.
Feels like a bit much.
The past creates a Verisium volcano, which spews.
See ice fragments, so I want to read this one. Spend runic ward to create a Verisium volcano, deals damage on initial eruption and triggers ice fragments. Limited to 1 volcano, 8 seconds. And then it triggers ice fragments with 2 additional projectiles immediately. And also ice fragments every half a second. I don't know what ice fragments the skill does, but if those Okay. If those are like ice fragments, then that might be fun for the blink dagger, the shield, the blink dagger shield, the cold one.
Use ice fragments
Would be something
around you for
interesting there.
This
Around
is
the
an excellent
volcano.
way to augment your ice fragment builds.
Oh, yep,
Complementing
okay.
your wolf-
So that those ice fragments do count. Turns out, who could have seen that coming? I just needed to stop talking for 5 seconds. But it seems like you can get ice fragments quite often. It's unfortunately an attack, not a spell, so you can't throw it in like a cast-on crit or elemental element setup to be constantly spawning fragments without having to press another button. But you could still throw this down. It'll immediately throw down ice fragments with 2 additional projectiles, and then you can shield, dash, and slam.
Cross slash or a freezing salvo ice build, as well as others. Try out these Kalgurin gems.
Okay,
more
cool.
on May 29th in the Return of the Ancients.
Cool stuff.
Thanks for watching, and see you.
This launches tomorrow. From when I'm recording this, almost exactly tomorrow. Off by some minutes. But it'll be fun. I'm not sure if I'll actually end up using this. If I go for like the shield slam kind of build, I might use the Fragments of the Past. That seems kind of fun. And I might go for Runeforged Blades on the Staggering Palm, because I'm mostly going to use that for clear. Will be very fun stuff to consider. I'm looking forward to it. Tomorrow. One of these days I gotta find like an actual real outro before my outro just becomes one of these days I gotta find an outro.